We have readings at the beginning of our satsangs from this book, Rays of the One Light, which are parallel commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. This was initiated in our path by Babaji. He asked Sri Yukteswarji to write the book, The Holy Science, or Kaivalya Darshanam, as it's called, the original title. And you may have read about this in Autobiography of a Yogi. And part of Babaji's explanation for this was that trying to see truth at the center of our own path, at the center of another path also, or at the center of all paths, helps to unite us. That was one of his points, that lest we not be separated as people, as nations, that we see that there's this one truth. And so this week's commentary is called The Redeeming Light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Bible, it tells us, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath that light shined." What is this light of which so many scriptures speak? In Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, we read of an early experience that Master had with that light. "I was blessed about the age of 8, Master writes, with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahashai. This experience gave intensification to my divine love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, Mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahiri Mahashai's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch Mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease." Now the commentary continues. "Where my light is, God once told a saint whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell. The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silence, in deep meditation. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 5th chapter, for whom that darkness of the soul is chased by light, splendid and clear shines manifest the truth, as if a sun of wisdom sprang to shed its beams of light. Thus through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, Radhika. Just in time. So nice to see you, and it's nice for me to be on my legs a bit more, which is nice. I'm also looking forward to spending time with the new disciples in Level 3, Part 2, so that'll be very nice. You know, today's reading, I wanted to reread just one part from this. Where my light is, God once told a saint whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell. The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silence in deep meditation. Such beautiful words, such a short reading, such a short message, and yet not always easy for us to follow. And I'm reminded of Swamiji telling us that when he was in the presence of Master, all his questions would go away. And, those who kind of came to Master with kind of little self-absorbed problems, he didn't have a lot of, I don't want to say tolerance, because of course he tolerated everything, but he just wanted people to be out of their ego, and so he would give them strong messages, perhaps like love God, very strongly, as in Autobiography of a Yogi. And why? Why do our questions go away? Because I remember also when I was in Swamiji's presence, and I would think, okay, I have to remember this thing that I want to ask him. Always it would leave my mind, because in his presence I felt so uplifted. And what is that upliftment? That is being in the light. That is also raising the consciousness level. There's a level of consciousness that we can end up living in that is full of fear, worry, problems, looking at things as problems. Things are too difficult. Even it shows on the face, we tend to look down. Our consciousness will look down more than up. So there's clues that we're living in a lower consciousness level when this happens for us. And it's easy to get into, isn't it? It's so easy, especially if we're around others who also are feeling negative, wanting to pull down. Who do you think you are trying to meditate? It won't do any good for you. And, all sorts of things we can encounter. But when we do meditate, we're touching the light every time, every single time. When we close our eyes and we focus our eyes at the spiritual eye, we're tuning into light. And not only that, we're drawing the energy up the spine, centering here in the brain. Our whole job is to fill the brain with light. That brings us into higher consciousness. That light we can see it in physical form. When you close your eyes, you can see a brightness sometimes. Different than the spiritual eye, which is a reflection of our astral spine, actually. But when we're closing our eyes and we have focused our energy here, we do want to look into the spiritual eye. But that light can fill up the whole brain and be so pleasurable, so pleasant. So much happiness comes from that. Isn't it strange? Just the presence of light brings so much joy, so much comfort, and yet we resist it so often, don't we? Oh, I don't have time to meditate. The whole purpose of a regular meditation practice is that we do it in the morning and the evening, and we always make meditation and swimming in the light during that meditation an anchor of our life. And it's a training. It trains us to go towards the light during times of difficulty. Whenever there is a problem, difficulty of any kind, we learn, rather than just wallow in the worry and the fear, which is there always to be had. We can always sink down into that, or we can raise our consciousness and go into what Swamiji called solution consciousness, which means higher consciousness. And as soon as we go into that higher consciousness, the physical problems in our life are still there, but the higher consciousness allows us to solve the problem with Guruji's guidance. It allows us to solve the problem in such a hopeful way. There's hope. Hope lives in higher consciousness. And so we want to try to continue to dip into that light continuously and live towards us. It's so easy to get off the path. I think a lot of people during the pandemic kind of found their lives mixed up in all sorts of other things and didn't find that they had time to meditate or couldn't quite do it. And that's because Master said environment is stronger than willpower. And so if you're in an environment that's not very uplifted, then it can pull you down and you just don't feel like meditating. Suddenly meditation just poofs out of your mind. What? Meditation? Why would I do that? That's boring. And so it just disappears. Oh yeah, I used to meditate. What happened? Anyway, that's what this center is for. To come here and to mix with other people who also want to remember what meditation is. And then we remind each other continuously what higher consciousness is, what meditation does for all of us. And we suddenly also feel really great when we leave the temple. And feel really great when we come out of a meditation. It's just so simple, isn't it? And yet so difficult. So when we were with Swamiji, he always lived in that higher consciousness state. And you could see, at the time, I didn't really recognize what was going on there. I knew it was higher consciousness. When we lived in Gurgaon, we would sometimes be invited over to go watch movies with Swamiji. And he had some favorites that he would like to watch. And sometimes we all would recommend a movie, and he would be willing to watch it. And sometimes he would watch it, and sometimes he would walk out. Sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the middle, but he would walk out. And we all thought, we can never tell what movie Swamiji would like. It's so hard to tell. But that's because our consciousness was here, and his was way up here. It's because if we're watching a movie and it's trying to pull our consciousness down, he had the good sense to just leave the room because he had no interest in interacting with things that pull the consciousness down. And that's part of preserving higher consciousness. That's part of wanting to live in higher consciousness. It doesn't mean we shirk our dharma or don't do our duty or don't be kind to people who pull us down and we're with them for a little bit. It doesn't mean we close our hearts. It doesn't mean we deny life and now I just go to the Nilgiris and I will meditate there all day. That's not our karma. We're here because we're householders, and most of us, and so we fulfill our duties, but we also make sure there's time for this higher consciousness part. And it can just be a secret between ourselves and Divine Mother. No, everybody doesn't have to know. And they don't have to know. Swamiji never announced, this movie is pulling my consciousness down. Goodbye. Instead, he just got up and left. No excuses. There's no reason why in circumstances where it's okay to do that, to just do that. You know, I've been at this party long enough. It's starting to get a little wild. Time to go. And great seeing you all and all that. No, stay. Come on. No, I have a, appointment tomorrow morning early, and it's actually your appointment with meditation early in the morning. But you can just say you have an appointment, and or even an appointment that night. Got to meditate. I have an important appointment I need to go to. And then you're not making them feel badly about leaving. You're just preserving your desire to be in the light. It's very simple. And, the other thing to take into mind about that is this affirmation on non-attachment. It's very easy for people to think all or nothing, that it means if I am non-attached, therefore I am only living as a yogi who is a renunciate, not as a yogi householder. Well, a yogi householder can fulfill all duties with detachment. Now, detachment does not mean with lack of feeling or with, definitely not with the sense of I'm higher than everybody else. And I guess I will try to do this worldly thing that, we don't want to get into that kind of an attitude. Instead, it's better to inwardly just know what's right for oneself. But this detachment, this concept of detachment, is because what is the source of our suffering? Attachment. We only suffer because of attachment. And it's right to be attached to your child, but is it right to try and control their every movement? No. So, same with, parents or whatever, our own parents. It's not right to be attached in the wrong way. When we are attached to how someone should be, then it's not allowing them to live their life the way they should. When we are attached to everything around us being controlled in the right way, we are living our life with tension. We want to be able to live with relaxation. The only way we can reach higher consciousness is through relaxation. Master gave us a life of high energy and yet relaxed. It's the whole purpose of yoga asana. Yoga asanas are done with high energy, and yet you have to have a relaxation that goes with it. Energization. Also, we're tensing and then relaxing. That tensing focuses the energy. That relaxing is so important. That relaxation represents the relaxation we need in meditation. It represents the relaxation we need in our life in general. And a lot of people will just say, tense and relax, with the emphasis on tense, and never a full relaxation. But that relaxation is necessary. You'll find relaxation with high energy is the source of bliss. That's how we get to bliss. That relaxation, uplifted, gets us to bliss. And that's the goal of life. Saying I want to find God is very abstract, but saying I want to find bliss, I want to experience bliss, I want to experience inner joy, that's something we can do. Swamiji lived in that bliss. Of course, our avatars came from that bliss and never left that bliss. We had Swamiji, who was a Jivan Mukta when he was born, and then became liberated. And so, to be honest, I don't know. To be a Jivan Mukta, you have to have been in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, at least in your last lifetime. And sometimes the veil is there, so the person will fulfill their purpose in life. And but in any case, he taught us about bliss. He taught us about finding that inner joy that's there. And it's so intertwined with the light. It's so intertwined with catching ourselves as soon as we feel crummy about anything and looking up into the light. There's a really wonderful story that I've told many times, but it comes in handy right now. of this woman who wrote a book. She was a psychic type person, but very spiritual. And she had a good friend. And they said to each other, when you get on the other side, send me a message that, how everything is going. Did it go well? I want to know what it's like. And so she began this connection with her friend who did go on the other side. And whether it's true or not, we don't know, but there are other very similar stories, and so it seems like it very well could be true, where this woman said when she went on the other side, she became kind of one of a healer type of angel, though not an angel, a healer soul. Master talked about this. When we go into the astral world, we may have assignments. We'll live in the consciousness level that we cultivated on earth. So the last level of consciousness we were in will help us be at the level of consciousness we'll be in the astral world, unless we've really gone high and we skip the astral and go into the causal. But that's another reason why it's good to cultivate higher consciousness here on earth, because it'll be, we want to be in the higher consciousness realms in the astral world. We don't want to be in the lower realms. Anyway, so this woman, her job was to help heal people who had been on the other side, who were lower consciousness than she was, souls who were in pain, souls who might have done really bad things and had to heal on that side. And one of the souls was a Nazi guard of some sort who did very bad things. And her job one day was given to her to go down into lower realms and help this person, this soul, rise to some higher realms. Because, we all know about karma, and there's progress you can make also in the astral world. When people do horrible things, when they get on the other side, the biggest worry is they realize suddenly how much they've affected everybody else. Now, if they're really dark, they probably don't. But even now, if we do something wrong, we'll feel guilty about it, hopefully. Those who don't feel guilty, meditate more. And so they'll feel very badly. And also they're engulfed in the darkness. That darkness has a intelligence about it that wants to pull down even more. So her job was to help this person in the dark to heal a little bit. I don't know really what her full job was. It certainly wasn't to liberate him. But anyway, when she first started visiting him, he would only look down, and the room was very dark. He would only look down. And she could tell that her soul was kind of lighting up the environment a little bit. And so every day she went down to visit him, and she tried to get him to look up, which was looking, he could see the light that was up above, but he just kept down. I mean, how many of us have been in that state? Just like that. That's how he was. And she said, no, look up, look into the light. And so he's just a moment. And finally she got him to look up. And then he was able to progress. That doesn't mean, he was the highest soul now. It just meant his just being like this stopped him from progressing. Just not looking into the light kept him stuck. But all he had to do was look into the light. That's all he had to do. And then he could move forward. That's all any of us have to do. When we're in a low state, the pandemic brought a lot of loss, brought a lot of difficulties. Even if we are in grief, we want to still look into the light and try and have that light help us, have that light heal us, just as the photo of Lahiri Mahashayaji healed Master of cholera. All we have to do is look into the light. And also, when we're meditating, we just look into the light, and it's right there. Sometimes that light can just keep you from sleeping because it's so bright. But that's where we want to be. We want to be in that bright light and continue to pursue it and realize how simple it is. It's just so simple to just look up. It's so simple to just look into the light. And we think, no, I have to be in the problem. I have to figure it out. I have to give due attention to this suffering. And I'm not discounting suffering, but if we just add light to it, suddenly there's a solution. And the being in it, digging around in it, it wasn't solving it, but just looking up into the light, feeling that light in our hearts, even asking a friend who is also trying to live in the light to maybe help or pray, just to pray. And not, I pray that you find 100% of all your healing. You know, you pray. We do healing prayers for people to strengthen their ability to heal. And again, it's done with detachment. So anyway, we want to look into that light, feel the light, and congratulations to all those who are becoming disciples today. And now is a time to welcome Master and begin to have such a strong relationship with him over time. Just like we have a relationship with anybody, we cultivate that relationship with our Guruji and more listen to his guidance and follow his guidance. A disciple says, I want to follow. The best quality of a disciple is someone who says, I need help. I need help. And the Guru is there to help. If we know all the answers, if we already know everything and we don't need help, then we don't need a Guru yet. But when we realize we've tried everything we can already in our own little human way, and we finally realize that we can't get ourselves out of our own suffering, then the Guru comes in really handy. And there's nothing like a Sat Guru. You know, I love this path. I love the yogic path because there's no collecting people to become disciples. There's no telling people you are the disciple. Everyone has to find that inside themselves, whether they are or not. And there's no trickery to try and get people to join, you know, because who can say whose guru is who? Maybe Master could do that in those days. Maybe Swamiji could do it, though he really wouldn't. But who's to say who your guru is, who your Sat Guru is? It's a serious decision because Sat Guru is the one that takes you to God, fully takes you there. Gurus that are family gurus or, you know, you tried something out for a little while, those are friends along the way who helped us progress. But the Sat Guru is the final destination before the rest of the Himalaya mountain to climb. It's, I don't remember what they say in mountain climbing, summit. It's one of the summits. So this is a summit where finally, my Sat Guru, thank God I found him. I remember just thinking that over and over again. Oh, thank goodness I found this path. I found this path. Oh, you know, just such a relief because finally I found my Guru. You know, what a relief. You know, we've spent lifetimes being with him perhaps and then losing him and then finding him again and then losing him again. let's say in this lifetime, we're going to take Kriya to the end. And it's a lifetime decision, really. That's why sometimes people will take the disciple class and they'll say, well, I just want Kriya. And we'll say, well, do you have another guru that you've taken Diksha with before? Yes, but it doesn't matter. I want Kriya. It's like, no. You can't have Diksha with another guru and then pledge your life to this guru. You just can't do it. Not only that, it's very disrespectful to other gurus to take Diksha with someone else when you've taken Diksha with them. We usually say you have to ask your guru to release you if you want to join this path. Not that you have to denounce and say, bad things about him or anything like that. It just means if he gave you Diksha, that's a commitment between him and you. That's not just some light thing like, I was just learning a technique. Diksha is a real thing that happened. And so we're very careful not to steal other people's disciples. I remember one woman in a level 1, once she had a lot of light, and I thought, I wonder who her guru is. And she was in the audience, and she wanted to take discipleship. And I said, now, who's your guru? And she named his name. And I said, and why aren't you with him right now? And she said, well, I don't like what's going on in the ashram, and I don't like what he told me. And I said, I'm sorry, you can't come here. You need to work it out with him. Go and work it out with him. Because the guru doesn't always give us easy things to do, right? Because the whole goal is to get rid of the ego. And so challenges happen in life. And Master is not in the body, but he's right there giving guidance. And Swamiji is right there giving guidance. We know when we're supposed to turn right and we want to turn left so badly. But then the guru is saying, no, this way. And then you finally go the right way and there's a relief, like, okay. He just helped us through an egoic decision to go in the guru's decision. And we know that deep inside. We know those things. And we've gone against those things enough times to go, I was wrong so many times. Because the ego-driven decision usually leads us to trouble one way or another. And so we want to be able to go in this other direction. Okay, so are we going to... Thank you, everybody.